and this is the Engineering Success Podcast, episode 67. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I hope life is treating you well. Wherever you are in life, life is treating me okay. I am recording this episode 67 after I've recorded episode 68. I have to send episode 68 for some external reviews because I have a great guest for that episode 68. So please make sure to come back for that episode whenever it comes out. Before we get into the rest of the podcast, I have some people to thank. Thank you, John Ott and Leroy Jenkins, for your continued support of the podcast as top tier supporters. Your $10 a month gets you a shout out at the beginning of every episode, my eternal gratitude, and allows me to keep the lights on at my website, www.engringsuccess.com, where you can also email me at daniel@engringsuccess.com. If you'd like to write in, be a guest on the podcast, try to sell me something, send me anything really. I get contacted by all kinds of people. Not as many people that are potential guests for the show or that have questions. More so people trying to sell me like YouTube optimization services. So write into me so that way I feel like having the email address is worth it. I'd appreciate you guys writing into me. What's going on in life? Life is good. It's Saturday. I'm recording this on November 16th, and we have the annual turkey trot coming up around the corner, and we're looking forward to it. I don't think we're going to spend Thanksgiving alone this year, which is a positive development in our lives. We spent last Thanksgiving as a family by ourselves as we were still trying to get settled in, but yeah, life is good here in Charlotte, North Carolina. For me, baby E, they just said good boy to our dog Luca, and it's like we're going through a massive sleep regression right now. So we're not sleeping that much, but we're learning like 3 new words a day. It seems like, or it feels like there's so many new words being said. So lots of growth and development. That's very exciting for us and our family. So, anyways, that's your life update. Let's get into the podcast. As always, we're going to start it out with our favorite recurring bit this week in LinkedIn Lunatics. This one is titled Ruin Your Marriage on Day 1. Which, okay, let's find out more. Well done, chap. Oh, I saw this one go viral on LinkedIn before I saw it on the LinkedIn Lunatics subreddit. My co-founder Casey has built a reputation for himself as the guy who sits on his laptop in bars from San Francisco to New York City. Last week, Thoughtly brought on a customer that needed to launch within 2 weeks. He also just so happened to be getting married within that 2-week window. So here he is wrapping up a pull request at his own wedding. Congrats, Casey. Now, please go take some time off. My goodness. That's not something that I would glorify as a company. I hope this is a joke. It seems like it's not. I understand that running your own business, being a founder or whatever, being an executive of a company in general, there's a lot of pressure to feel like you're working all the time, and your personal life and your work life are even more intermeshed than the average employee is. It's like you're always on the job. But my goodness, that's just not something to be proud of. I'm really bummed that he had to spend some of his wedding day, or felt the need to spend some of his wedding day doing work. That's just such a depressing way to spend your wedding. It's like one of the most memorable days of your life, one of the most expensive days of your life, and you're working. I think that any client that doesn't understand that, hey, maybe my wedding, I can get to it after my wedding, is not the client you want to have. But my goodness, that's not something to glorify. So I definitely wouldn't glorify that. So on the LinkedIn Lunatic scale, I would definitely rank that a 10 out of 10. All right, well, that was this week in LinkedIn Lunatics. Our next segment of the podcast is where we read into education-related questions and topics related to engineering. So the first question is, pursuing a minor. I'm a high school student about to enter my senior year, and I plan on majoring in chemical engineering. Is it worth getting a minor in college? Does it depend on the field you want to pursue within chemical engineering? All right, so I have 2 minors, actually, that go along with my engineering degree. I got my math minor just by completing my engineering degree. It just came automatically. Some universities, you might have to take one extra class. You don't need to do it. Nobody's hiring you as an engineering graduate for your math minor. And then my other minor I got was in economics, and I that was just kind of like a personal passion thing. I actually took summer classes for it. I took a heavier course load to make that happen, and honestly, I really enjoyed the coursework the coursework I took in pursuit of that minor. And again, nobody has hired me based on that. That hasn't been a thing that I'm not even sure if it's on my resume anymore that I have a minor in economics. I can't even remember if it's on my resume anymore, but it's definitely not why I was hired for my last job as a minor in economics. People hire me for my engineering degree and my work experience. So it doesn't depend on the field you want to pursue in chemical engineering. It doesn't matter. It will not be the needle mover for you. It won't be the thing that qualifies you for a job getting a minor. So you don't need to do it. But if you are in a position where you have the luxury to pursue one and you want to pursue one and you have the time to pursue one, that is what I did, and I don't regret it. One of the most impactful classes I took in college was a class that I took in pursuit of my economics degree. It's environmental economics with Dr. Shannon McDermott, who I repeatedly shout out and thank on a regular basis because my industry, it's very relevant to what I do, what I learned in environmental economics. So that, again, it's kind of like pursuing an MBA, maybe less so, but what you learn in your minor, what you get out of it is what you learn from it. It's not the thing that like moves the needle on your resume that qualifies you for jobs. There might be some jobs where you have to have an MBA to have them, so it's even less impactful than an MBA. I definitely wouldn't equate a minor to an MBA, but yeah, same concept. It's what you get out of it, and I definitely wouldn't delay my graduation. In retrospect, I didn't need to take extra courses throughout my college career to make the minor happen, and you don't either. I didn't. I shouldn't. I probably would. In retrospect, I wouldn't have done the summer classes. I would have just done normal classes and maybe pursued internships instead those summers that I was taking economics classes and other prerequisites for other classes to kind of make sure that I could get the minor and the major done. But yeah, I'd say that it's not really. It doesn't really matter if you get a minor. You don't need to do that, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in either. All right, next question. Question to all civil engineers: why do civil engineering students have to take dynamics? I mean, I can understand why we need statics, solids, and fluids, but what's the point of taking dynamics? It's not like we're going to use this in real world, and the only other major that has to use it for their coursework is mechanical engineering students. I just don't think that it's that important and can be replaced by at least an engineering elective. Interesting. Yeah, my school, all the electrical engineers actually took through fluids and heat transfer, interestingly enough. All the mechanical engineering students took through circuits and electronics. Now, I went to a more general engineering program where that was kind of a feature, not a bug of the program. I would say that dynamics, I think it's good to know what kind of dynamic principles there are that maybe you're not using it in designing your civil structures. But being more broad and having a more broad understanding of engineering in general is a good thing, especially whenever you're going to be working with a lot of mechanical engineers. Now, I'm not a civil engineer, so this time I'm actually going to refer to the friends in the comments to see what they have to say. You don't think dynamics applies to hydrogeology, building mechanics, or fluids? Yeah, there you go. That's very applicable. I think that yeah, that's a specialty. Hydrogeology is a geotechnical engineers. That's a specialty of civil engineering. Nonsense. Civil engineering is a broad degree. I agree that you're not going to need dynamics for wastewater management, but dynamics has come in useful quite a few times for me in structural engineering. Yeah, I think that actually, yeah, dynamics was at my school was a prerequisite for my course structural dynamics that I took, which was one of the few structural courses that I had. And structural engineering, ultimately, that is one of the things that an engineering degree can be. It allows you to get your foot in the door for a broad range of engineering careers. I've had to consider impact on multiple different structures for which the kinematics that you learn in dynamics was essential. It's also a key part of structural dynamics, particularly setting up equations of motions to represent the behavior of simple structures, as well as to validate complex structures within simplified Hancocks. Yeah, I don't even know why my head didn't go to this. Yes, at first. Yeah, I took dynamics. I took structural dynamics after that. knowing those moments and that kind of stuff is relevant to civil engineers, especially structural engineers. And then this is the kind of the overarching concept. The same reason why you take any other course in engineering, to condition your brain to solve complex problems. Yep, that's another reason. It's for the sake of the pursuit of an engineering brain and mind. The courses that you take are selected by a bunch of really smart people that have been involved in educating engineers for many years, that are, especially in the US, that are part of an organization called ABET that accredits engineering degrees that require you to take those dynamics courses. And they think it's important, so that's why you have to take it. Uh, that sentiment is echoed by many engineers in this comment thread, that the content is not always the point. It's the types of problems that you learn how to solve during it. Again, that's why I think the engineering degree is so rigorous and is the most rigorous college undergraduate degree, because more so than in any other degree program, you are forced to take what you learn and apply it in different ways. That's why there's a common sentiment that the homework is not like the quizzes and the quizzes are not like the tests. That was my experience all the way through college, and that is just because engineering degrees really uniquely challenge you to apply what you've learned in different ways, because that is all we do in the industry. Is no problem is the same. We don't solve the same equation to determine an equation for a moment, or determine what the if the flow is laminar or turbulent through this pipe. We don't just solve plug problems in our day-to-day life. We have real world situations, and we need to practice solving things in different ways using the principles that we've learned. So that's why civil engineering students have to take dynamics. All right. Well, that was our college questions section of the podcast. I'm going to take a quick breather, mainly to make sure that my audio came through okay, and then I'll come right back on the other side with our engineering career questions. Catch you in a second. All right, and we are back with our engineering career questions. The first question is internships. If you haven't started applying for internships yet and you are a sophomore or junior engineering student, then what are you doing? Most of the best internships get filled in the fall. So if you don't know that, you know it now and you are behind, but start going ahead and applying. Many people try to push it off till the Christmas break, but then you are behind in the application cycle, so don't do that. All right. I have seen many people discuss about how important an internship really is when you are in school going for your degree. But my question is this: I have about 4 years of experience in CNC machining. By the time I graduate, I will have about 8 to 10 years in the field. I have adequate experience with CAD, CAM, and GD&T. Should I still look for internships when the time comes? I go to school full time and I work full time in an aerospace machine shop. So you're a non traditional student. You know, I would say that I'm guessing that you probably don't have like the financial flexibility to leave this job and then come back after an internship. If you did, then I'd say go for the internship, especially if your employer is super savvy with that and cool with you taking some time off and then coming back. But I don't think that you even have I guess probably not the financial flexibility to get an internship. So again, internships are very important. I'd say that your experience is good. It's very valuable. You're probably doing a lot more than engineering interns have done. So you're probably fine, especially if you want to apply to aerospace companies. You're probably fine, but if you had the flexibility financially to be able to pursue an internship and then be able to get your job back during the school year, that would be nice to have, but I wouldn't say that I would compromise your financial situation in pursuit of an internship. I wouldn't trade in your full-time job for a part-time job as an intern. But yeah, yes, internships are important. the internship is worth a little bit more than a random job. This is a good job. I think that you're fine. You've done some CAD stuff, especially if you can paint your experience. Do a really good job of framing your experience that you've had doing this job and what engineering related things that you've done. Is there an engineer that works for this aerospace manufacturing company? Could you machine shop? Could you maybe spend some time working with them and have pick up the additional role of engineering intern at your machine shop? That's another idea. Let's see what the if everybody else in this agrees with me. This is the exact pathway I had. Also know a few people with similar experiences. You can get an internship if you'd like for connections and networking. Could make it easier to get your foot in the door at yes, yeah, exactly. If there's a place that you want to work at after you graduate with your engineering degree, if you have the opportunity to intern with them, that would help. That's why I had a job lined up before I even graduated because I interned with that company the summer before. That's how a lot of internships work. Yeah, a lot of people are struggling to find jobs. I had a very similar background, about 5 years in machining and CNC, got a year left in school, and got my first internship. The engineering work I've been doing is pretty different from what I've been doing in machinist roles. Yeah, that is true. Engineering roles are different, so not the same kind of experience. For me, my background easily got me into the internship that I have now, easily the best company in the area. I'd say an internship would be a great way to transition into an engineering role. That's what it's doing for me. Yeah, exactly. I think that your experience that you have having worked in the shop will definitely set you up really well for it's a great resume for getting an internship, especially with a aerospace company. But again, you know your financial situation a lot better than we know your financial situation. So that's another piece of the math that that you need to consider. So that's my take on the importance of internships for people that are non-traditional engineering students. All right, next question. Is it normal for an intern to have to copy their manager on every email? I've been working part time at a smaller company for a decent amount of time. Now that it's summer, I'm going full time. Even though I'm well past being a beginner at my job, my manager still requires me to copy him on every email I send, whether it's asking other people on the team questions, reaching out to people on other teams, or asking for people to review certain things. My manager is very hypercritical of me, and recently this has made it extremely stressful to send any emails at all because I don't want him to see them and think I'm asking a stupid question or that I'm bothering someone or to find some mistake that doesn't exist. In addition, he will respond to emails that are directed at me, which is also very frustrating. Is this a normal experience for engineering interns? Yeah, I'd say that it's not the only experience for engineering interns, probably not even the main experience for engineering interns, but it's fairly normal. It's also normal for entry level employees to have to copy their boss on everything. And yeah, reaching out to people on other teams, I mean, I know that it's stressful for you to reach out, but hey, maybe it's his way of saying, "Hey, make sure you're taking good notes and not asking the same questions over and over again." So I think that in that way, it's kind of achieving the desired result is that you're thinking more about things before you ask questions and trying to pay really good attention to make sure you don't ask redundant questions. I think it's very normal for your manager to chime in as well to answer emails that they're copied on that are addressed to you. That's pretty normal. I'd say that this is a fairly normal arrangement, especially if you're dealing with clients or third parties. I would definitely not want my intern interacting with my stakeholders because they're a reflection of me without me being on the communication. And honestly, I think it's great that your manager is giving you this much attention. I think that a lot of people get internships and they don't get this kind of attention from their managers, and they wish they had some attention. And you're getting a lot of it. Maybe it's on the higher side of level attention and microscopic behavior, but it is within the realm of normal behavior. Here we go. I'll give you my perspective as a manager. I don't require people to copy me on emails, but I do appreciate it. The reason being is if something on a project goes sideways down the road, the phone call comes to me, not the person who made the mistake, oversight, or whatever. If I have a copy of an email that I can search for and get the history on an issue or project, it helps me with troubleshooting and documentation. Try not to think about it as micromanaging is not necessarily about that. I don't use these emails to keep people under my thumb,
but I do that so I can keep my 30,000 foot view of what's going on with our projects. Yeah, same thing for me. Like I'm not a functional manager of people, but I do manage aspects of projects. And whenever I ask somebody to do something that involves an email, my expectation is that they copy me on that email request, because if they don't, then here's what they're gonna get. They're gonna get a Teams message from me later saying, "Hey, did this get done?" Because I keep a Microsoft planner of all the things that I'm either doing or all the things I've asked people to do. And if I don't see the action when I'm going through things at the end of the day, I'm going to I'm going to bug you about it. So go ahead and copy me on the email. I'm probably not going to read it very carefully. I won't even respond it. But seeing that it came through helps me know that, yeah, okay, things are moving the way that I'm expecting them to move. So that's something that's my personal take in how I interact with people. Um, your manager is probably half making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do correctly and effectively, and also covering his own rear end. They probably don't even read these emails anyways. I don't either. Yeah, it's not. It's very common for interns to copy their supervisors on emails. So yes, this is normal behavior. They're maybe a little bit more hyper attentive than most, but you know, I wouldn't worry about it. And if they're giving you a lot of feedback, then take good notes and try to limit the amount of feedback. And if they just are a fountain of feedback, just don't. I would try not to take it too personally and just take it as what it is. It's a great learning experience, and I honestly just be grateful that you have an intern manager that is has the time and energy to spend some time helping you and is not so focused on everything else that's going on. All right, next question. An old EIT reached out to use me as a reference. They were let go for not being very competent and being constantly late. I don't know how comfortable I am being their reference, but I also don't want to be an obstacle for them getting another job. I mentioned in the title that an EIT who used to work for me reached out through another person to ask if I could be their reference. He was a nice guy and smart, and I wouldn't call him very good at his job. The guy seemed very aloof and had horrible time management. He would show up late, take long lunches, and then leave early. He was also pretty slow at completing tasks, where it got to the point that people stopped giving him work because he would take too long and sit on budgets. Ultimately, he was let go, which I think was appropriate as he was given multiple, like 4 opportunities to show improvement. In the couple years since he was let go, he passed his PE but hasn't found another job. Oh. Part of me just wants to tell him I'm not comfortable being his reference, but at the same time, the engineering community where I live is pretty small, so I'm torn between being so harsh. Could use some advice. Here's what I would do in this situation. I would say, hey, so you said this was a guy, so hey man, I am not comfortable referring you unless you can assure me that you have put things in place and reflected on the reasons why you were let go from our firm, because we both know that you were let go for performance without, yeah, you need to tell me that you've figured out ways to mitigate that and improve. And it's hard because it's been 2 years and he doesn't have any other job in between now and then that he could use somebody else as his reference or demonstrate that as reference. But maybe he's worked non-engineering jobs in those 2 years, and he could give you some good examples about how well he's done at time management and being on time with tasks. The other thing you could do is say, "Hey, man, I don't think you want to use me as a reference because I can't. When I reference you, it's a reflection of me, and if they ask me about your experience, I'm not gonna lie to them about you. I mean, this is my that's I know that that seems harsh, but I'd say either say no, I'm not comfortable, probably, or I would only be comfortable if we kind of had some conversations about the reasons why you were let go. I can refer you. I think you're very bright, but you need to give me the assurances that you can address the other things. Otherwise, I'm going to have. I mean, regardless, I'm probably going to have to share that in my reference. The thing you could do is just say, I will verify that you worked here. That's the other thing that they do for references is, I can verify your employment, but as for referring you in other ways, I'm at a loss. This is a really hard situation because you said that it's a very small engineering community where you live. So again, your reputation is is worth something in that small engineering community. So you don't want to tie yourself to this person who you know wasn't competent and wasn't on time. So I'd say either recuse yourself or say, hey, you need to give me some assurances that some of these things that were the reasons why you were let go are not the case anymore. Let's see what the engineering community has to say. Top one. This is one of those times where I'd have a very candid conversation with them. I personally believe in second chances, me too, and would want to understand why they slipped. So, to be honest, your performance when we worked together was subpar, and that was the reason for you to be let go. But I also remember you as being a nice and bright engineer. Before if I could decide if I can write you a positive reference, I ask that you share with me anything that may have impacted your ability to perform at your best and what you've done to move past your performance issues. I would make no guarantees that I would write a reference, but if they made me believe that they understood they goofed up and worked on themselves to mitigate that, then I would in fact write them a positive reference without questions. Yeah. And who is this? Oh, it is 425 Traffic ENG top 10% poster on r/civil engineering, a legend of the engineering Reddit. Shout out to you, 425 Traffic ENG. Do you listen to the Engineering Success Podcast? Let me know. That would be really cool if I found out that you did. But yeah, kind of the same as what I kind of where my instinct was going on that. But yeah, be candid with them. Tell them why you're hesitant to give them a positive review. Can you address that? What's going on? Have you reflected on that? And then, yeah, I guess you can give them a review. You can definitely verify their employment dates, which is one of the things that happens in those types of referrals. All right. Next question is QA/QC roles. Oh, this is interesting. All right. Hey guys, at my land development firm, 1,000 employees, we have a group of experienced engineers that primarily do plan review. Every project goes through them and they check plans and calculations for constructability, safety, and look for value engineering opportunities. It seemed interesting to me as an alternative path to climb the ladder in lieu of project management. I wanted to see if other firms have a similar role and how many years of experience the typical engineer in this position has. If you've ever been in this QC position, how have you liked it? Okay, so interestingly enough, again, I work for a major engineering consulting firm. Again, this is my own podcast, but I do know how the quality review program works, and the general overarching requirement is that you should be of the level that you could have developed the deliverables yourself, if not maybe even higher level than the typical person that develops those kind of deliverables to be a QC reviewer. So we don't have a central office of QC reviewers. We do have a quality office. We have quality people that make sure that we implement our quality plans and programs. But as for the reviewers themselves, we'll pick out and plan those reviewers for a specific project, and generally they are more senior level engineers, but they're not necessarily like only QC reviewers. And the way that you grow into that role in my company is you grow as a design engineer. You deliver projects, you develop deliverables, and then once you develop those kinds of deliverables, you have a reputation for doing high quality work at developing those deliverables, then people would ask you to be a QC reviewer for those same types of deliverables on other projects. And that's how you get that. So it's really not a, hey, I'm taking the QC engineer path. It's more so in consulting, in my experience with my company, more so you've developed to a certain level of competency and capability where you're trusted as an engineer and you're asked to be a QC reviewer. So how many years of experience? I'd say that I've seen people with 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, 50 years doing QC reviews. It depends on the deliverable and it depends on the project and the scope. So I'd say that your experience is that's an experience. That's very interesting that your company has decided to do it that way. I personally would I would feel bored if I was just constantly QC reviewing. I guess it's kind of cool to like see a bunch of different projects, but just doing QC reviews all the time, I would rather be on some active projects. That sounds like more fun than constantly being Mr. QC reviewer. So, is that even a path you want to go on? Just be a designated QC reviewer. I guess that's a valid path to want to go on. Definitely comes with a lot of importance and responsibilities. But yeah, I'd say that just develop as an engineer, keep on growing in your roles, and then you could find yourself in a QC reviewer role. Let's see what the other engineers have to say about their experiences with their companies. This person said somebody who's doing that type of review is going to have a lot of experience, probably 10 years, 15 years plus. The only way that they got into that position is seeing a lot of different types of projects and learning from mistakes that were made previously. My opinion is that you have to partially climb the ladder to get into that position. It's not a separate path. Exactly. You just master all the regular stuff first before you be considered to it. This is often typical at larger firms. There's usually a technical track and a PM track. The technical track takes engineers from designer to lead designer to QA, QC, or mentor. These engineers are typically responsible for not only QA, QC, but also passing down design knowledge to the next generation. People in this role are extremely valuable and should be treasured by their companies. Yeah, I'd say that, maybe they're a QCer, but they're assigned to the project. They don't do all of like the project delivery work, but they're on the project and they're reviewing all the deliverables before they go out. They're also probably the person whose name's on the org chart that the client is hiring the company to do the work for. And then here's my comment. At my firm, the folks who do QC review are lead engineers and above. If you're qualified to do the scope and perform the work, if you're qualified to scope and perform the work, then you're about at the point where you're qualified to QA QC it. You get there by contributing as a staff engineer and growing your knowledge base until you're in the position where you're a lead level engineer. Now your firm structure is different than I'm currently observing at mine, but I'll be honest, doing QA QC mainly would drive me insane. Yeah, it's more so like you're still, I guess, it also depends on what your view of QA QC is. But yeah, there's certain people on my project that I'm on, and there's a lot of engineering work being done by a lot of people. But before the last deliverables go out, there's a few engineers that are at the top of the org chart. They're the principals, the principal or senior engineers on the project, and they review all the deliverables before they go out. And they would be the ones I assume that would also use their stamp as well. So yeah, I'd say that you just kind of grow as an engineer, and then you get into those QA QC roles and responsibilities. All right, this is a fun one. Oh, they deleted the post, but I have it. All right. Woman at my work found out that I've been talking to a coworker and is saying she's going to let my girlfriend know. Okay. I've been talking to this woman at my work for several months. However, this other coworker of mine told me that she found out that we've been talking, and now she's basically threatening me that she's going to tell my girlfriend. I obviously don't want my girlfriend to know this, and I also don't want the potential problems that this may cause at my current office and my career in general. What should I do here? And thank gosh, this is not from an engineering specific subreddit. So this is just general career advice. So if you're ever in this situation where you're cheating on your significant other, whether physically or emotionally, at work, you don't. The advice is to not do that. Don't do that. And then the next best advice is probably at this point you should just break up with your. You should get ahead of it, and you should just break up with your girlfriend. Say, hey, I'm sorry, and move on. Because obviously you're not interested in her exclusively, and that's usually how relationships works. Though maybe your girlfriend is interested in a polygamous relationship. So hey, actually, you know what? Maybe just let her know. Hey, I've been talking to somebody else. Would you be interested in a relationship where I talk to other women, and then go from there? That's my advice. No. The question is, does the other woman that you're also talking to at work also know you have a girlfriend, and also is she cool with it? And do you need to also ask her if she's also cool with like a relationship where you also talk to other women? Okay, guys, this is really sarcastic advice, but I just saw it and it was fun. Just don't do this. Especially don't do it at work. I mean, I can't think of a worse situation to bring on to yourself. So don't do that. That's not cool, not nice, and dumb. So my advice to you is take your medicine, deal with the consequences that are associated with this because you deserve to experience consequences because you're not being a kind person. And then once you deal with the consequences, then pick yourself back up by your bootstraps and get on with your life. All right, next one. Are senior engineers slash people with large amounts of experience just not that valuable to employers? Does modern day mechanical engineering not require much depth? All right. Something I can't help but notice is mechanical engineering doesn't have any high earners. Basically, every mechanical engineer earns somewhere between 70 and 130K. Companies don't seem to be willing to pay a super experienced guy like 200 or 250K like they are in many other fields. I also noticed that there's basically no mechanical engineers that post in threads like this. For the ones who make over $150,000 a year, what do you do? Is it just because hardware slash mechanical sides of things has stagnated without much innovation over the past 40 years? Are mechanical engineering jobs just too low complexity? It seems like tons of experience just isn't valued at all in our field. Yeah, this is, I think that you just haven't met those engineers. I work with those engineers. I know plenty of them that fall into the super experienced and make at or more than what you were saying is the 200 or 250K. So I think that you're just maybe not around them, but I am. They are there and they exist. And, they're late in their career, they're close to retirement age, and maybe they're not on Reddit. Maybe they're not on Reddit, or maybe they're too busy being very valuable at their jobs that they just don't want to talk about it, or maybe they just don't want to talk about it in general. What I'd say is, I think that there's a confirmation bias on Reddit, especially in mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering, Reddit skews younger, and mechanical engineering is not experienced maybe the same lucrative salary progression for young engineers that maybe comp sci has, software engineers have in this last decade where Reddit has become extremely popular. I think that that's what it is, and yeah, maybe there's not as much lucrative growth for early career engineers, but I mean, I don't make over 150K a year, but I'll probably be there in not too long, and I'd be able to comment on that. And I have a mechanical engineering degree, and I would just say that engineers with large amount of experience are extremely valuable to employers. My company maintains a significant bench of these engineers. They're extremely valuable. They've been with my company for 20 plus years. They have 30 to 40 years of experience in the industry. Clients award us work because of them. We get articles and newspapers written about us because of them. Their resumes are the reason why we win work, and they're very valuable and they're compensated as such. So, yeah, this is not just where I work now. This is where everywhere I've worked. There's these engineers exist, and I'm every company has these types of employees and these types of engineers. I think that maybe you're just not. Maybe some small companies don't have engineers making this much, but yeah, this is a thing. This is 100% a thing. There are senior engineers with large amount of experience that are extremely valuable to employers, and modern day mechanical engineering does require a lot of depth, especially at the early conceptual stages of projects, early stages of designing a new thing, early stages of a large capital project. That is where that large experience comes into play. And then as projects become more defined and we're doing kind of the more repeatable tasks and the delegatable tasks, then yes, then you have your lower dollar engineers that are doing that kind of stuff. But in the early stages of these projects, early stage R&D, early stage capital project development, these very valuable engineers are very used, very utilized on projects, and they're compensated as such, and the companies that they work for are compensated for it as well. So this is a thing. I think this is just a confirmation bias thing for you, and that. Modern day mechanical engineering requires plenty of depth. This is the top comment. And there are plenty of mechanical engineers with decades of experience out there. The higher you go, generally you get more specialized. The more specialized you get, the harder it is to switch jobs. The less you switch jobs, the more your wages stagnate. Hence, many, as they say, most individual contributor roles top out in the mid to high 100s outside of a couple niche industries. Management is where the money is, but I think I'd rather make less and actually enjoy my job. Yeah, that is probably a thing. But again, there are engineers that make really good money out there. There are. They exist. I promise you, they exist. So yeah, that's my take on that question. But yeah, as you become more specialized, it is harder to leave your job. But I'd say that, I mean, consulting companies will look at engineers that have extremely deep resumes, and those people have teams of engineers that work with them. Those are the people that win projects. And those people, if they were to get poached, they would bring work with them. And in consulting, I'd say that there is an opportunity to actually have that kind of salary growth throughout your career. It might take you a very long time, but I think it's actually possible. So that's what I that's my take on that. I think it's a confirmation bias thing, but I think there is some truth to it. I will admit there is some truth to it, and for the reasons why that other person said, but it is a thing. So, all right, next question. How do you rebound after a bad week? This is a good question. Went over budget on a report. PM let me hear about it when I already knew. Plotter stopped working mid print for a hard copy submittal at the end of the day because I spent so much time on the hard copy. I didn't get anything else done. I wanted to. CAD was a POS. All of this happened on a Friday. Just a bad end of the week. How do you bounce back on Monday? That's a good question. I think for me, the biggest thing is that when I go home on Friday, I get to hold my child, get to hug my wife, I get to go to bed in my house that is paid for. No, the rent is paid for. The rent is paid for in a comfortable city where I enjoy living, where I have friends, where I enjoy spending my time outside of work. My whole life is not my work. That's how I bounce back. I also bounce back by remembering that it is a job and I will pick it up again on Monday. If I absolutely have to do one or two tasks, then maybe I'll do something on the weekend. But I also try not to do anything on the weekend because turns out, for the most part, nobody else wants to work over the weekend. So nobody's going to bother me about it until Monday. And then I'm paid to be there at work and I'm refreshed. Not taking all my work home with me over the weekend allows me to come into Monday refreshed and ready to do work. Spending that time on the weekend, not thinking about work, being outside, doing other things, my brain is freed up. And sometimes some of the things that I was struggling with during the work week, they actually come to me. And then I take a little note down and I'll deal with that on Monday. But yeah, I think that remembering that your life is not work, remembering what you care about, what you value about, spending time with your family, spending time away from work, not thinking about work, that is what allows me to come back in on Monday refreshed and ready to take on the new thing. And also, like, not talking to my coworkers over the weekend about the thing that was the just not continuing that struggle throughout the weekend. That's how I get through it. Let's see how some other engineers get through it. Know what happens when a Friday submission is missed? It becomes a Monday submission, and once it's in, no one remembers or cares. Just remember when you're 80s in your final moments, none of your coworkers or bosses will be there to remember that stuff. Just your family and loved ones is all that matters. Take it on the chin and with a grain of salt. Yep, exactly. It's not, work is important. It's important to be a good contributor to society. It's important to make money, to provide for your family and your livelihood, and to make good financial decisions for your security. But it is not the only thing, because what are we working for if we don't take care of the other parts of our lives? Next question, and this is our last question of the day. We had a couple other ones, but I'm killing them on the spot here. All right. Guilty about working from home. Hey guys, how do you overcome the guilt from working from home? Our work policy is maximum 2 days a week working from home. I have a bad cold, so I'm probably going to work from home today, tomorrow, and Friday. I'm pretty sure I'm being irrational about getting in trouble, but how do you get over the worry of this? I usually work from home once a week, sometimes twice. I'm an electrical engineer, and due to the busyness of the program, I usually just work from home once a week. And this is on r/women engineers. Yeah, I think that, if you're early in your career, it's good to be in person, especially if you have engineers that you work with, that you want to, that you can rub elbows with them, go over to their desk real quick and ask them a question. Being in the office generally is good for you to learn early in your career. That being said, you have an engineering degree, you work as an engineer, you work a professional job that comes with a level of professional privilege. So here's what happens when I need to work from home. I send my boss a message. Sometimes I remember to send my boss a message. Hey, I'm working from home today. That's it. My company also has a policy that generally you're supposed to be in the office 3 days a week if you're an office employee. I generally work from home on Fridays, but if I have to work from home another day, maybe I have a contractor coming to the house or I'm not feeling well, I just tell my boss, hey, I'm working from home. And then that's it. My boss says, okay, thanks for letting me know. And then that's it. I mean, I'm not any less productive when I'm working from home. It doesn't really change anything about my workday. Except if I'm like feeling like crap, then maybe I'm going to be struggling to be productive. But yeah, for me, it's just a FYI thing, not a permission thing. I think that if somebody was regularly, like more often than not, going outside of policy, it would become an issue. But this work from home policy, I almost guarantee you that it allows for one-off situations like this where you're sick and you're not even taking a sick day. You're still working to help the company. They don't want you to be in the office to infect people. I mean, they don't want you to bring an infectious disease into the office. So yes, please, for the love of all things, work from home. I am going to be doing some travel over the Christmas holidays. A lot of my coworkers are going to be on vacation. The office will be pretty much empty. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to work from home. Yes, my general policy is that I got to work in the office, but again, circumstances, people are understanding of nuance. People that's one of the great things about working with people. People understand nuance. That's why I rent from individual people to have as my landlord, because individual people understand nuance. People have compassion. People have rational brains. Your manager can rationally wrap themselves around the fact that, oh, maybe so and so needs to work from home this week because they're sick. Yeah, that's pretty easy to grapple. So, anywho, yes, I wouldn't feel guilty about it at all. I feel no guilt about working from home now. And if I were in your situation, I wouldn't feel any guilt about working from home. So, yeah, you're good. You are good. And if you're not good, then let's have a conversation about your manager. All right, guys. Well, that was engineering success. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Again, I am finalizing the finishing touches of episode 68. So we're going to get a pretty nice back-to-back upload of this episode 67 and then 68 as soon as the compliance folks of the company associated with my next guest approve that episode. I will definitely publish it right away. If you like this episode, if you think it's impactful, write into me at daniel@engringsuccess.com and let me know. Share an episode with your friends. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. It's all free, and you'll be notified of everything engineering success. And it really helps me out. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm just about to hit 900. So please help me get there as I try to get monetized on YouTube. Again, consider becoming a top tier supporter. I really appreciate that. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.
I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Now I'm not complaining, my thoughts get complicated, I cannot explain in lameness. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me